do it. I don't sit down and talk about 14 points. She just asked, Casey, am I going to take questions from reporters? What am I doing? Am I taking questions from reporters? They'll tell you I'm taking questions. By the way, unlike Hillary, this is unlike Hillary. Do we agree?
All right, here now is the author of a brand new book. It is about Islam, exposing the truth about ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Iran, and the Caliphate. Founder of The Blaze, former Fox colleague, Glenn. How are you? There he is.
How are you,
Glenn
Sean?
Beck. You don't even need an introduction. We'll just say Beck.
Oh, yeah, right. How are you?
All right, let's start with, you put a Facebook post up on, I think it was Friday. You mentioned me and Coulter and Rush and others.
Right.
And you wanted an answer. Why don't you tell us the answer, the question that you wanted answered?
What I wrote was, and I called you right after, I wrote to you right after I posted it, because you and I are friends, and I wanted to say I really do want an answer on this. This is not trying to throw anybody under the bus, and it's not trying to throw Trump under the bus. I'm really trying to understand how conservatives can look at Donald Trump's record, which he himself self-identifies more as a Democrat than as a conservative or a Republican, and say, that's our guy. Now, I want the American people to decide, and I'm not trying to shut him down. I don't agree with people who want to, kick him out or silence him or whatever. I just don't understand it, because his record is horrendous when it comes to conservative principles.
I guess what it's going to come down to, and I know you said on your radio show today, because I read it on The Blaze on your website, that you and I are at an impasse. I think it's about 10 pages. By the way, I typed the whole thing out on my iPhone. I'm sitting there at my daughter's tennis tournament. I'm sitting there writing you back, and I didn't expect it to go that long, by the way. But I wanted to give you a real, thoughtful answer.
And you did.
But I don't think you agree with anything I said, so what's the point?
No. I do agree. I do agree that our jobs, we see our jobs differently. And we talked about it because, again, you wrote a lot. So there was a lot to agree on. And the things that you said about each candidate, I agree on. And the way you handle things. I'm much more of an opinion guy. And there are candidates that I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk to Jeb Bush. I know what Jeb Bush is going to say. I got it. You have Jeb Bush on because people access these candidates through you. I'm more of an opinion guy.
I give a lot of opinions, too. I am genuinely, and I put this in my letter to you, which has gotten, I guess, a lot of media attention. I am currently undecided. And the good thing about the process, I tried to explain this, is we've got 5.5 months.
Right.
But till February 1, 2016 is when the Iowa caucus is.
And I'm currently undecided. I mean, I have favorites. I love Ted Cruz.
I like Ted Cruz a lot, too.
Right, but if Ted Cruz doesn't go, I'd go to Rand Paul. I'm looking at Rubio. I'm still kicking the tires on Rubio and Walker. But there are others
They're
that
all good people. Everyone you mentioned I like a lot, and I put that in the letter.
But there are others that I would not vote for just because I think they're progressive in nature. I believe that Donald Trump is progressive in nature. He looks for the strong government. And more importantly, I think this says a lot. I mean, again, I want to be really clear, because I think what Donald Trump is saying is connecting to people. And I feel a lot of the things that he says, I feel that we've been screwed by China. We're screwing ourselves. We haven't been screwed by them. We're screwing ourselves with China, with Mexico, and everybody else. I get that. And I want people to be strong and build a better nation, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't want to do it with a guy who has suggested in the past, and I know you've asked him, that he says, well, now I wouldn't do that. But he has suggested in the past, we just take wealth away from people. Nowhere in the Constitution could you find something like that.
I agree with that. I agree with that analysis. Here, I guess, is where the impasse will forever be. And I have, at this point, I think I've asked him every question that I wanted answered, and I thought my audience would want answered. And I argue in this paperback to you is that I think I can best serve my audience on radio and TV by giving them access to the candidates. And many of the specific things that you brought up about abortion, for example, I liked his answer. He knew some kid, a woman that was about to have an abortion. She didn't have it. He knows the kid. It was profound. He changed his heart. On the issue of health care, for example, he now supports health care savings accounts. On issues involving the economy, we got into very specific detail. On issues of ISIS, I like the idea of taking Iraq's oil and giving millions to the 5,000 Americans, and the Iraqis should pay for their own liberation. They owe that to them. The perimeter idea is good if it's comprehensive.
Deal, Sean.
What's that?
That wasn't the deal. I mean, I agree. I think that should have been the deal on the outset, but that wasn't the deal. And to go in now retroactively and say, oh, by the way, we're just taking your oil.
Well, this is a different environment because now ISIS controls Ramadi and Fallujah and Mosul.
And if he wants to make that deal, I have no problem with making that deal, but that's different than saying we're going to just go in there, we're going to take the oil.
I understand.
No.
The only thing I would argue back to you, and I think there is a reason for his success, and I think the reason is Republicans are weak and they are timid in Washington especially. The Republican governors have done a lot better. I think they're weak and timid. They have broken so many promises. Americans are fed up. The problems we face are severe. 93 million Americans out of the labor force, 50 million in poverty. We have literally on the world stage, we have exited. And as a result, the world is a less safe place. And I think what he's saying shows strength and conviction. And I don't really care what he said in the past. Where do you stand today?
No, I do. Remember, you were a guy who taught me about what Barack Obama said in the past and got me to care about what he said in the past. What somebody says in the past makes a difference. I will say this. I agree with you on this. CNN played an old clip of me about 6 or 8 months ago, maybe a year ago, saying, if I'm on the other side, you know who the person I agree with, the person I respect on the other side? Bernie Sanders. And it's the same thing. We are so tired with the system. We're so tired with the game playing on both sides. The Democrats are saying, you know what? I'm for socialism. You guys aren't really giving us the real socialism. You're playing this game. Let's go for it. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And the same thing over here. I have a problem with Mr. Trump's character. And because of the things that he has changed. I just don't trust that that's what he really means. He's good in promoting Donald Trump.
Yeah, he's good at that. By the way, he's not humble. I mean, you said
he's not. And I also think that's an important trait to have. One of the things that really bothers me about Barack Obama is his lack of humility, that Mussolini stance that he does.
But here's my take. Maybe this is what I would recommend to you. Maybe we can settle the impasse. Because I've interviewed him and asked him specific questions about Planned Parenthood, asked him about his abortion position, I've asked him about his plan for the economy, I've asked him about his plan to battle ISIS, I've asked him about his past statements, I've asked him about the problems that some conservatives have with him, and I feel over time, this is my take on him, and I think you'll disagree, is that here's a guy that has been very successful, loves the country, sees what both of us see. America in decline, and he is entering the political arena for the first time because he sincerely wants to make the country a better place, and he thinks these people in Washington are dumb and stupid, incompetent, and ambitious. And I think he's right.
What part of that do you think I disagree with?
Then that's the point. Why don't you interview him? Let's bring him on your program and ask him every question.
We've invited him on the radio show, and I have no problem interviewing him. I just don't. My problem is I don't think that he is a guy who has a bad, is going to get in, try to, has bad intent for the nation. Yeah, he's not Barack Obama. He sees the nation the way you and I might see the nation. But that doesn't necessarily mean I agree with his way of getting there. I have not heard Mr. Trump really talk about the Constitution. And I've not, when you say things like, you know what, well, that's just what we got to do. No. We respect the Constitution first. Where are you on the Constitution?
I've never heard him suggest anything that I thought was unconstitutional. Which,
taking
for example,
wealth
this
away,
president...
Just seizing wealth out of bank accounts is absolutely...
And I asked him about that, and he said it was a dumb idea that he would have coupled with a balanced budget amendment that again, he made it as a businessman. Maybe I'm giving him more credit for the fact that the things that he said as a businessman and as somebody that was appealing to both sides for business reasons, and I don't have a problem with that.
Here's the great thing, Sean. Yeah. You and I we're not gonna solve this. Mr. Trump is going to play out.
That's right.
And the great thing is,
5.5 months will know.
He causes a crowd. People will listen to him and they'll judge. And you and I, we each have one vote just like everybody else. So what happens, he is in control of his own destiny. There's no press person that's going to hurt Donald Trump.
All right, I got a break. I got to take a break.
Okay,
we'll come back.
Right.
More Glenn Beck right after the break and then later tonight.
They have to go.
What if they have no place to go?
We will work with them. They have to go. Chuck, we either have a country or we don't have a country.
Donald Trump does lay out his immigration plan, but not everyone's happy about it. We'll explain.